Welcome to Life Stories. What if the people who were supposed to lift you up were the ones quietly holding you down? Brooke Taylor worked 2 jobs, skipped meals to pay rent, and fell asleep with burn marks on her hands, while her brother crashed startup after startup, fully funded by the same parents who told her she'd be fine on her own. But everything changed the night she delivered a pizza in the pouring rain. And someone from a past her family had tried to erase said her name. This isn't just a story about family. It's about favoritism, betrayal, and what happens when the black sheep finally finds her way through the storm. Stay with us, because by the time the truth comes out, nothing about this family will ever look the same again. Let's begin. It was a Friday night, and while half the city pulsed with laughter and bass from rooftop bars and neon-lit lounges, Brooke Taylor stood ankle-deep in rainwater, clutching a collapsing cardboard pizza box like a lifeline. Her sneakers made a sickening squelch with every step up the slick stone driveway of a house she couldn't afford to look at for too long. One of those modern glass and steel mansions in Ashwood Lane, the kind that came with wine cellars, smart mirrors, and live-in regrets. Her fingers were numb, not just from the cold but from the double shift she'd pulled, 5 a.m. at the Daily Grind Cafe, and now this, a pepperoni special, $78.50, no tip. She didn't need to check the receipt. She never forgot numbers, especially the ones that reminded her of what she didn't have. The door opened, spilling laughter and warm light onto her soaked uniform. A guy, early 20s, red Solo cup in one hand and entitlement in the other, blinked at her like she was the punchline to a joke he didn't get. "You're dripping," he said. "Yeah," Brooke answered, deadpan. "Weather does that." He paid, dropped a crumpled 80 into her hand, and slammed the door before she could ask for plates. Through the glass, she saw them dancing, glittering dresses, tailored blazers, lives held together by trust funds and parental bailouts. Her reflection in the glass was almost funny. A wet rat in a baseball cap, mascara smudged from rain and resentment, working 2 jobs to afford lukewarm water in her apartment. If irony were currency, she'd be a millionaire. Brooke turned to leave when a voice, quiet but unmistakably familiar, stopped her cold. "Brooke Taylor?" She froze. The voice came from under a black umbrella just beyond the hedges. The figure stepped into the driveway light, tall, sharp-featured, expensive coat. For a second, her brain refused to match the image with the name. Uncle Matt? The last time she saw Matt Everett was 8 years ago, the night he disappeared from her family without a trace. Her dad had stormed through the house, shouting about betrayal and loyalty, and then all the photos with Matt in them vanished from the walls like someone had died. He was a ghost after that. No mentions, no explanations. "I almost didn't recognize you," he said, stepping closer. "You're taller. You're richer," she replied, instantly regretting how bitter it sounded. His laugh was soft. Fair. She wanted to walk away, but her legs didn't listen. It had been so long since anyone in her family looked at her like she mattered. "Are you really delivering pizza?" he asked gently. "No, this is performance art," she snapped, the sarcasm slipping before she could stop it. "Yes, I'm delivering pizza. For tips, that don't exist. Let me buy you a coffee, or something warm. There's a diner 10 minutes from here. We can talk, if you want." She didn't know why she said yes. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the way he said, "if you want," like she had a choice, like that mattered. The Moonlight Cafe hadn't changed in a decade. Sticky booths, 24-hour specials, coffee that tasted like burnt hope. Matt sat across from her in his tailored coat, looking out of place in every way but one. He looked at her like she was someone. "How did it get this bad?" he asked, not unkindly. So she told him. Not everything, but enough. The missing college fund, the full-time job at the cafe, the part-time dream of graphic design on a busted laptop, Chase, her brother, failing upward with their parents' money, the subtle cruelties, the emotional overdrafts. Matt listened, really listened, no judgment, no pity, just this quiet fury in his eyes that wasn't directed at her. "When I left," he said finally, "your father told me I was a threat to this family. He thought I was undermining him by warning him not to pour your college fund into Chase's beer rating app. I offered to replace the money, Brooke. I was ready to do it quietly. She stared at him. You what? He refused, said it would make him look weak, said you needed to learn responsibility. Her world shifted on its axis. She had believed for years that Matt had walked away from all of them. But he hadn't walked away from her. He'd been pushed out for trying to help. I work at Lumora Tech now, he continued. I'm the founder. We're hiring in our design department. I can get you an interview. No guarantees, but you deserve a shot. Brooke didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat was tight, not from the offer, from the fact that someone still believed she deserved one. They parted that night with a business card and a promise. 1 hour of honesty had cracked open a door she didn't even know existed. 3 days later, as she stood in the shower of her crumbling apartment, watching rusty water circle the drain, she heard a noise at the front door. Mail. She wrapped a towel around herself, opened the door and froze. An envelope lay on the floor. No address. Just her name, written in handwriting she recognized from childhood birthday cards. She opened it. Inside was a single folded page. A bank statement, a transfer, $50,000 from an anonymous account, marked, "For the years no one believed in you." Brooke's hands trembled, because she knew it wasn't from Matt, it was from someone else. Someone who had watched her suffer and never spoken, and suddenly she wasn't sure who her real enemy was anymore. Have you ever questioned who truly stood in your corner, who silently watched, and who quietly fought for you? What would you do if the one person you resented most turned out to be the one who tried to save you? Everything Brooke thought she knew about her family is about to unravel. In part 2, she'll discover the truth isn't just complicated, it's dangerous. The envelope haunted her. For days, Brooke kept it tucked in her coat pocket, pressing her fingers to the crease like it might reveal more. $50,000 didn't just appear out of thin air. Not in her world. Not after years of scrubbing espresso machines at dawn and dodging overdraft fees like landmines. She told no one. Not Matt. Not Zoe. Not even the woman at the bank who raised an eyebrow when Brooke deposited the check into a holding account just to be safe. The handwriting still echoed in her mind. For the years, no one believed in you. The worst part, she had a gut feeling who it was from. Linda Taylor. Her mother. It didn't make sense, not on paper. Brooke hadn't heard anything from her parents since the night she refused to loan Chase $500 for his third failing business idea. Their silence had been sharp-edged and unspoken disowning. But something about the curved loops of the L's in the envelope. It matched the thank you notes her mom used to leave in her lunchbox when she was a kid. Back before things broke. Brooke wasn't sure which unsettled her more, that her mother might finally see her, or that it took complete collapse for it to happen. The next Friday, she stood outside her childhood home on Ashwood Lane, arms crossed, staring at the front porch light flickering like it too was struggling to stay alive. The flower beds were dead, the shutters chipped. For the first time, the house didn't look intimidating. It looked tired. She hadn't planned this, but after her meeting at Lumora, Jessica Chen had handed her the outline for a major rebranding project, the kind that could make or break a career. She realized something. She couldn't build a future while dragging the weight of unspoken history behind her. Brooke knocked. The sound startled even her. After a few moments, the door creaked open. "Brooke," her mother whispered, like saying the name tasted strange. "Hey," Brooke said. She meant it to sound casual. It came out like a question. Linda stepped back and Brooke entered the house that raised her but never really knew her. Everything looked smaller, more breakable. "Is Dad home?" Her mother hesitated. "He's at work, extended hours." She paused, then added, "Things haven't been easy." Brooke nodded. She didn't say, "They never were." They sat at the kitchen table, the one where Chase's trophies had once lined up like medals on a general's chest. Now, only dust remained. "I assume you got it," her mother said quietly, hands wrapped around a chipped mug. Brooke met her eyes. "Why now?" A long silence. Then, "Because I saw your name on a press release from Lumora. They credited you for a UI redesign." Brooke's stomach turned. "So that's what it took, public proof that I had value?" Her mother flinched. "No, I've always known you were capable, Brooke. I didn't fight hard enough. Against your father, against the way we treated you. Brooke swallowed hard. The rage wasn't clean anymore. It was laced with something heavier. Grief. I don't want your money, she said. Not like this, not anonymously. Not because you're ashamed. I wasn't ashamed, her mother said, her voice cracking. I was afraid you'd throw it back in my face, afraid you'd never forgive me. Brooke stared at the linoleum floor, the same one where she'd spilled watercolor paint when she was 10, and cried for hours because no one had come to see her art show. You let them give Chase everything. Every excuse, every bailout, and you told me I was strong enough to go without. Because you were, Linda whispered, and because I was a coward. Brooke's breath caught. That was the thing no one had ever said. Not out loud. They sat in silence, two women at opposite ends of a bridge neither had built. Finally, Brooke stood. I don't know if this means anything, she said. But thank you for the envelope, for seeing me, even if it's late. Her mother reached for her hand, hesitant. Brooke let her. Are you okay? Linda asked, voice trembling. Really okay? Brooke thought of her apartment with hot water and light that didn't flicker, of Jessica's sharp critiques and her first paycheck that didn't vanish on rent day, of Matt's quiet pride, of the girl she used to be, the one who painted in silence, waiting to be noticed. I'm getting there. As Brooke stepped out into the chill night air, her phone buzzed. A message from Matt. Can you come to the office early tomorrow? There's something I need to show you. Urgent. She frowned. That wasn't like him. Matt never sent vague texts. He was precise, calculated, always in control. The next morning, when she arrived at Lumora, the front desk was unusually quiet. Jessica wasn't in yet. Matt met her at the elevator, looking off. Walk with me, he said. They stepped into the conference room. On the glass table sat a folder marked confidential. Brooke sat. Matt didn't. We have a problem, he said. It's about Chase. The name hit her like a sucker punch. What about him? Matt ran a hand through his graying hair. He applied for a position here, under a different name. He forged credentials. We caught it, of course. But before we did, someone in HR put 2 and 2 together. Her blood ran cold. Someone figured out you're related. Matt met her eyes, his usually steady voice uncharacteristically tight. And now the board is questioning whether your hiring was legitimate. Would you risk everything you've worked for, just to protect someone who's never once protected you? As her past collides violently with her present, Brooke must make a choice that could cost her the future she's finally begun to build. Keep reading to see what decision she makes next. Brooke didn't speak for a long time. She stared at the folder on the glass table, heart pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. The words Matt had just said didn't feel real, but that the look on his face confirmed everything. Chase applied here, she asked quietly. Faked a resume. Used a different name? Matt nodded. We flagged it when the contact info on the fake portfolio matched a previous vendor he tanked. Then we found the real name buried in the metadata of a logo file. A few people started connecting dots, and well, now we have questions from the board. Brooke felt heat rise in her chest. Embarrassment, anger, betrayal, so many versions of shame rolled into one sickening knot. For a brief, painful second, she wanted to scream. He never wanted this job, she said almost to herself. He just wanted to pull me down. Matt exhaled, eyes sharp but kind. I'll handle the board. You've done your job, and done it well. Jessica and the team stand by your work. But I needed to tell you, because if this goes public, it won't be just your name they question. It'll be your story. Brooke stood, slowly. She felt like her skin didn't quite fit. You said I earned this, that it wasn't about being your niece. It wasn't, he said firmly. It still isn't. But perception is powerful, and Chase just threw a grenade into yours. She nodded once. Let me talk to him. Matt hesitated. Brooke, I need to, not for them. For me. When she knocked on the apartment door that evening, she half hoped he wouldn't answer. But Chase opened it within seconds, as if he'd been waiting. He looked worse than she remembered. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, hoodie worn thin. The smell of cheap takeout hung in the air behind him. Well, he said, leaning on the frame. I figured someone would show up eventually. You used a fake name, she said. No preamble, no small talk. You used my company, my story. He didn't deny it. Didn't think it would work, just needed a chance. No, she said, her voice breaking. You needed to tear something down because it wasn't yours. He looked away. You think I wanted it to be like this? You, the golden child now? Everyone talking about how brilliant Brooke is. Do you know what that's like? Yeah, she said, fire rising. I do. For 23 years I watched you fail upward while I scrubbed floors. I watched you get trophies for showing up while I got told I didn't need them because I was strong. I know exactly what it's like to be invisible. Chase looked stunned. Maybe no one had ever told him the truth so clearly. I didn't sabotage you, he muttered. No, Brooke said, eyes burning. You sabotaged yourself, and you almost dragged me with you. She turned to leave, then hesitated. You know what hurts most, she said, voice softer now. Not that you tried to steal something from me, that I kept waiting for you to be better. He didn't respond. She didn't wait. Back at her apartment, Brooke sat in silence, her phone face down on the table. She didn't want to hear Matt or Jessica or the board. Not yet. Not until she figured out who she was without any of them. It was Zoe who finally dragged her back into the light. The next morning, her barista best friend knocked on her door holding 2 coffees and a paper bag of still warm cinnamon rolls. You look like someone erased your entire operating system last night, Zoe said, settling into the couch. Talk. Brooke did. She told her everything, from the fake job application to the boardroom suspicion, from Chase's hollow resentment to her own crumbling sense of identity. You're not a fraud, Zoe said flatly. And you didn't ride coattails. You clawed your way up. Brooke nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. But I don't know if the world will see that. Then make them. The words hit like a charge. That week, Brooke asked Matt for a meeting, not to hide behind him, but to speak for herself. In front of the board, she stood in the tall, sterile room, her voice steady but thick with emotion. I won't defend what my brother did, she said, and I won't pretend it doesn't affect your perception of me. But what I will say is this. Every piece of work I submitted was mine. Every late night, every client call, every critique I absorbed, it was real. This place didn't give me a shortcut. It gave me a shot. She paused. Then, I'm not asking for your sympathy. I'm asking for your scrutiny. Put my work under a microscope. If it doesn't stand, I'll walk away. But if it does, then I expect to be treated like anyone else who earned their place. Silence. Then Jessica spoke. It stands. Matt nodded, arms folded, and one by one the rest of the board agreed. Brooke walked out into the sunshine that day not with relief, but with clarity. That evening, she visited her parents. Her father opened the door, jaw tight, eyes uncertain. You heard, she asked. I did, Greg said, and I was wrong about a lot of things. She waited, not for an apology, just for truth. I let my pride speak louder than love, he said. And I think, maybe I didn't know how to be your father when you didn't need saving. Brooke felt something loosen inside her chest. You don't need to fix the past, she said. Just stop repeating it. He nodded. And for once, he didn't try to explain. He just listened. That Thanksgiving, the Taylors sat around a smaller table. No grand feast, no trophies, just real food and real words. Chase didn't come. He was in a rehab program for burnout and compulsive risk-taking. But he'd sent a card, 3 words scrawled in unfamiliar handwriting. I'm trying. See. Brooke placed it on the mantel next to a framed photo of her first Lumora campaign. Later that night, as snow began to dust the windows, she stepped outside with a cup of tea and dialed a number from memory. Raymond Chen, the voice answered. Hey, Brooke said, smiling. Just wanted to say, thanks for giving me a real chance. Jessica laughed softly. You made your own chance. I just made sure the door wasn't locked. Brooke hung up, looked at the stars above her new city and exhaled. She had fought. She had fallen. She had risen. Not as Matt's niece, not as Greg's daughter, but as herself. What part of Brooke's journey resonated with you most, and why? Comment 100 if this story meant something to you. Let us know where you're watching from, and if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching Life Stories.